1 minute. Good evening. Welcome to this evening's Langley City Regular Council meeting for January 13th, 2014. I'm Acting Mayor Ted Schaefer. With me I have my colleagues. I have Councillor Jack Arnold, Councillor Rosemary Wallace, Councillor Gail Martin, Councillor Terry James, Councillor Dave Hall, and also on the staff I have Darren Light, who is the Director of Corporate Services, Carolyn Machado, Manager of Legislative Services, Francis Chung, our CAO, Gerald Minchuk, our Director of Development Services and Economic Development, Rory Thompson, our Fire Chief, and Kim Hilton, our Director of Recreation, Culture, and Community Services. And I now need a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Martin, Councillor Arnold, all those in favor? It's unanimous. I now need a motion for the minutes of the last meeting. Councillor Martin, Councillor Arnold, any questions? All those in favor? Unanimous. We have under petitions and delegations Al Kersey, and he is with the Optimist Junior Interclub Curling League, and he's going to give us some information to do with the 2014 U18 Curling Championships. And Al, would you like to step up and fill us in?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to introduce myself and the topic with a very brief, 2-minute video, if I may have your permission, Your Worship.
Yes. You can sit down if you like.
Well, I've been curling for 4 years, and I just like the sport. It's really fun.
Hey, you can sweep, you can throw. There's no other sport where you actually get to use something called a rock.
I like when you slide down the ice and throwing the rocks, and I like yelling hard and whoa and stuff like that.
I like the interaction with other people, and I like the competition.
I think I would like to curl more because it's fun.
It was great. It surprised me at first because I wasn't sure. I'd never played it before. I just watched it, and it was really new.
Yeah,
I also play hockey. Just finished midget, and I like curling because it's probably the best game I've ever played.
It's one of those magnetic sports. I mean, it's remarkable. You're really great at this.
I think the best thing is knowing the people on the ice and you get to talk to them.
I like the social aspect of it. And every time you make a shot, you get more addicted to the sport.
It's not a strength sport. It's a sport that comes down to your ability to handle pressure.
It's not all about how hard you kick it, how fast you run, and then how good you are at tackling. It's all about luck.
Just make sure that you've got the mic close to you. Okay.
Well, thank you, Your Worship and Council. Is this? Okay. Maybe we'll take your invitation and sit down. And with the screen in front of you, I'd like to introduce junior curling, and particularly Optimist junior curling with that little video. I think that pretty much says it all. And I'm also introducing tonight our showcase event, our Optimist U18 Curling Championships, coming here to Langley for 5 days, April 2nd to April 6th. And to tell you a tiny bit about the Optimist, large service organization, about 85,000 members, 2,900 clubs, mostly in North America, 20% in Canada. And our slogan is Optimist, bringing out the best in kids. And we do that in many ways, one of them being curling. So our slogan in curling, a child does not need to be bigger, faster, or stronger to grow from playground to podium. And that's really helpful if the child has not chosen the correct parents. I have a handout, and this handout lists the top 10 reasons on why every child should be in junior curling. And those top 10 reasons hit the headlines of newspapers in the last year and recently. I even have a recipe for using junior curling for anti-bullying. Very effective. And one of the ways we do it is with some Optimists Getting Started camps. I sell a raffle ticket all across the province, and that proceeds goes to camps. These camps, I get big kids teaching little kids, 17-year-olds teaching 10-year-olds. We've done 23 of these camps, and 576 children have been through the program. Our best example of Optimists bringing out the best in kids might be Christine Keshen. That banner behind her on the wall, behind those kids on the wall, is taken in Invermere. I asked Christine if she learned to curl in Invermere. She said yes. Was she 10 years old? She says yes. And Christine Keshen won Olympic bronze at Torino for Canada in 2006. So there is Optimists bringing out the best in kids. There is kids growing from playground to podium. 10-year-olds and podium athletes. So some of you may be familiar with our Optimist Junior Interclub because we're in our 25th season. We've expanded a little bit outside the province, but mostly the lower mainland with kids from Seattle. My arithmetic says we've delivered 3,000 kids' years of fun so far since 1989. Back to the Optimist favorite project of the moment, our U18 International Championships. I'd like to tell you that there's over 6,000 kids participate in the journey there to begin this, and winds up with 24 teams here at Langley and Surrey, 12 boys and 12 girls from Japan, across the U.S., across Canada. Teams are invited from Europe, but we haven't had a taker yet. And they need to earn their invitation to this prestigious international event. We send the invitations to the regional curling associations, and they select the teams. Then when they're finished at the event, they're back doing those camps that I was telling you about, big kids teaching little kids. Here's some local team, Klimchuk, that was in Winnipeg for the 2008 event, and back here in Chilliwack enjoying a snack and lunch with the little folk. So giving back to the community and learning leadership. This is my favorite story about the U18. This is in 2011, 3 weeks after the massive earthquake tsunami, and we were really worried about the Japan teams that year. And when they arrived, we were surprised, delighted, and we asked them, you know, how did you manage that? And they said, well, the Japan leaders felt that these are our youth, these are our future. And I thought that captured the message really well of what our event is all about. Now, just to go through a little bit of history, Chelsea Carey there was on television yesterday winning the provincial Scotties, going to nationals, Canadian nationals. She took 5th place in our Optimist U18 in 2001. Matt Wozniak, you see a lot of him on TV playing with Team McEwen. He took 4th world seed in 2001. And now he's listed on their website as the runaway leader in Canadian team ranking system. Team Homan, you might recognize that name. They won the Canadian Championships last year, took silver at the Worlds last year. They were right up there winning a bronze medal a couple weeks ago in the trials to go to the Olympics in Sochi. And here is a curler that did make it. Oh, let me go back for just a sec. Team Homan won gold in our Optimist event in 2006. Caitlin Laws took silver here in Cloverdale in 2004, and just recently she placed third for Team Jones, and they earned the right to represent Canada at the Olympics in Sochi. So there's a fantastic future for the kids. Now here's some pride of our own. British Columbia, Team Brown out of Kamloops, all kinds of gold medals, including the 2012 gold at the Optimist U18 International, and then Team Daniels here at Langley at George Preston Recreation Center. That's a team from Delta, and they took gold last year for the women's. I mentioned accolades too numerous to mention, and so I tried to mention a few of them and put them on that handout that I gave to you. But I need to quote the one at the very bottom of the page. Is from a mom from Prince Edward Island. She says, when our daughter Jenny asked if she had a good time while in BC, her answer is always, it was better than my trip to Disney. So that pretty well says it all. And in conclusion, and respectfully, and in concert with this presentation, the Optimist U18 Host Committee has completed a City of Langley community grant application. We're requesting $2,200. That is the cost to put on 3 luncheons for all these curlers and their coaches. And if we could put up some types of sandwich board and promotion and get the City of Langley name front and center, we would be delighted to do that. And I'll just cede the questioning, but if anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Al. Councillor Martin.
Thank you very much. Well, as someone who went through high school curling and into my mid-adult life curling, I know how much fun it can be, and I really enjoyed it. The question I have for you in regards to your request, in your submission for the delegation, you say $2,200. In your Appendix A, you've got $1,700 from the City of Langley. So what's...
Yes. Last year, I did ask for the $1,700, and the City of Langley did donate that to us, and very much appreciated. Thank you.
So that's last year.
I did the arithmetic afterwards. Our costs last year for the 3 luncheons were $2,254. And of which the City of Langley donated $1,700. Okay. So that was wonderful.
The other question I have, there's 2 pages with numbers on it here. There's no registration fees for the teams that are coming?
That's correct, yes. Their costs, we expect them to do the fundraising for their travel to get here.
Right.
And you're correct. There is no registration fee. We pay for all the accommodation and transportation here. Key West Ford in New Westminster donates 12 7-passenger vans.
Okay. So you also pay for their accommodation once they get here then?
Yes.
They're not billeted out to other homes? Or
correct. We looked at the logistics and all the headlines of the day and decided that with our volunteer group, we just couldn't handle it.
Okay.
And we do fortunately have some private donors, philanthropist money, and so we're extremely fortunate to have that. So we elected not to bill it. We take last year 261 room nights at the Best Western Langley Inn, and the followers, that was for the teams and coaches, the followers took 244 room nights at the Ramada Langley Surrey on 192nd.
So will you just be using the one hotel here in Langley City, or?
For the teams, yes. Okay. So we book 55 rooms for the 5 nights for those teams, and we send their parents, grannies, and followers and cheerleaders all over to the Ramada Langley Surrey.
Okay. And do you also pay for the parents' accommodations?
No.
No.
Actually, that's a tiny bit of a fundraiser. We get a commission from the Ramada on that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Hall?
Through the chair to staff, we have $150,000 each year to distribute, and each year the requests have grown and grown and grown. So I just want to put this in the queue. Do we have a date, first of all, that we're going over these grant applications, because they're obviously closed? And the second question is, what's the total request at this point?
Typically, our date is in the beginning of February, and we haven't set a date as of yet. And I don't have the total request, but it's always more than the 150,000 that we have allocated.
I guess other groups will take the lead here, and I always appreciate having a presentation to get a real handle on it, but I would request in a timely way the total sum of the request so that I can put this in proper perspective. These people are asking for a 2,000, how much was it?
2,200.
2,200, and I'd like to put that in perspective in terms of what the other asks are. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Arnold?
And if these guys are out of ice somewhere, what do? Play bocce?
We do have the floor curling sets and a way for them to practice in the gymnasium. And it looked like someone, I think it was from Russia last year at the last time at the 2010 Olympics, actually had synthetic ice to try out.
Mm.
So I don't know very much about that.
Well, seeing no further questions, thank you very much for your presentation. That really informs council and staff as well. So we'll be in contact with you. And thank you again. Next presentation this evening is with Bob Barrett, President, and Shar Duba. She's an advisor for the Langley International Festival Society. And it combined, I believe, Langley Canada Day celebration with the International Festival Society. So you'd like to give us an update, please.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Ted Schaefer and City Council. We're pleased to be here this evening, and I'm delighted to introduce Thomas Reyes as our first VP. Unfortunately, our president couldn't make it tonight. And to my left, the second VP, Bal Brigitte. Sorry. And at this time, I would like to pass the mic on to our first VP, Thomas Reyes. Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much, Your Worship and members of the Council. Thank you for having us here. On behalf of Bob Barrett, our President, and the rest of the board members, thank you for having us here. So I don't know how much you know about what's going on between us and the Society and Canada Day. I will give you a brief history about who we are. As probably you may know us, we are the Langley International Festival Society. We started as a society a few years back, and we've been running this festival for 13 years. Actually, Shar here on my side is the founder of the festival and big promoter of this initiative. And we've been working hard to grow this festival from a tiny little church event that was running at some point here very close by to a large two-day multicultural event that brings around 20,000 people between, well, the city of Langley, the township, and the surroundings. And so we have grown and we have gained experience in doing that. I think we have brought a festival that is award-winning, and it's actually one of the best that we have in the whole city. And I have some experience in festivals, so I can talk about that a little bit as well. But at this point, recently, at the end of the year, the Canada Day Society approached us and requested to consider the opportunity to take over Canada Day. Believe us when I said that it was a kind of a tough decision for us to go through. We've been going through a very thorough decision-making process to make sure that we're up to the challenge, but also, and we're capable of doing it, but also that we are bringing value really to what the festivity means for all Canadians in the community, and the community in general, of course. And so after some thoughts and some time to process and digest and understand where they were coming from and what the status of the society, December 27th, we decided to move forward and actually take over Canada Day Society and Canada Day. So as of today, right now, we are the responsible people of running Canada Day. And in that capacity, well, we are approaching now both councils for the township and the city. Well, first of all, to introduce ourselves, to let you know that we are very honored for the opportunity and that we are really looking to create synergy with both township and the city to really make this a great event and to keep offering, well, a great event to the community in both the township and the city. I will let Shar continue the conversation here with us because there might be something else that she wants to add.
Thank you, Thomas. I suppose what we came to tell you, Thomas has already presented, is that we are taking over the Langley Canada Day Society. We feel very honored that they approached us out of all the other organizations within the Langleys. And we feel with our experience and our dedicated volunteers and board of directors and diligently made this decision that we can, with the help of the township and the city, that we can pull this off. We are going to run at this point, we're going to run two separate societies, nonprofit societies. And this year, because it's a transition year for us, there will not be a international festival this year at the end of August. We're going to reserve that decision until after this Canada Day, because the idea is to mix or blend or marry the two events into one. Being that Canada has been noted as a multicultural country, we thought that this was a huge opportunity for us to sort of bring it all together. And so we look forward to bringing some new ideas to the Canada Day. We want to keep some of the realistic events that have been going on with Canada Day, of course, and being patriotic for our national holiday. We will change the event from McLeod Park to Willoughby Community Park. We just did a presentation in front of Township at 4 o'clock today, and that's all been discussed and arranged. We are here today to not only let you know what we're doing and the big challenge that we've undertaken, and we look forward to your support as council, as mayor, as staff, and volunteers within the Langley to help us put this community event together. Just a moment.
Honorable Mayor and councillors, I moved here a couple of years ago to Langley from Surrey, and I find this to be a great city. And I try to volunteer as much as I can my time. So I joined the Langley International Festival last year, and I saw the great event that they put together, very important multicultural event. And so I vowed that I'm going to continue on with them as their VP. So a lot of marketing and communication side of things. This year, I guess, or last year, end of last year, we were approached to do the Canada Day celebrations because there was a fear that it may not exist because the last society wasn't able to continue on. So we took on this kind of a torch that's been handed to us, and we put our event on hold this year, which usually happens in August, so that we can ensure that the Canada Day event does happen. Our group, we have a great group, a mixture of all different backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, and business people. I'm a business person too. And I think, we're poised really well. We've done events before. I've been involved in other events like Fusion Festival and sponsorship and all the different things like Canada Day and Surrey and so on too. And so we're going to give it our best, and we really need your help too, like as far as support goes for logistics and so on, wherever we can get assistance. And of course, we do need, your assistance in a grant format, and so that we can do this event really well. It's a city event and a township event, and we want to do a really good job in putting it together, and we look forward to your support.
Thank you. Questions from council? Councillor Hall.
honestly, you've taken me by surprise to some extent here, and I guess I'm looking for a little more clarification of what this blend of function is. The difficulty I've always had with Canada Day was the lack of federal funding. One would expect that that happens, and I think part of the financial difficulties that the previous society encountered were largely because of the lack of support by the feds. So I'm just wondering if you anticipate any change in policy or assistance from that level of government in support of what you're doing.
Well, as the revenue consultant, we reviewed, of course, all the financials before we made our decision. Yes, you're absolutely right that the previous organization has had some difficulties with respect to funding. And, you know, it's an outdoor event, and weather is very important. I understand that they've had a couple of rainout years, and so therefore went into the red. However, we have two chartered accountants on our board of directors, and they did their due diligence, and the previous organization was in the black this year, and so we made that decision made our decision based on those figures. And with respect to the grants, I'm not sure exactly how many or what grants they applied for, but that's my job. And I have some experience in that area and also with sponsorship. And so we're developing teams so that the workload is not just on one person. And we feel that once this news gets out to the press and within our community, that we'll have people come forward and really try to help us. It's not for us, it's for the community to make this a really proud event for all residents of Langley.
Councillor James.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I kind of surprised myself, but I applaud your vision for the fusion of these two events. My question is, do you foresee Canada Day this year being a one-day event, and then eventually, if you can merge the two successfully, it will morph into a two-day event again?
Well, thank you for the question. No, at this point, because it's the first year, we want to be conservative. So the first decision that we made is put the other one on hold. We know that that has some impact in the community, in the festival itself, in the vendors participating, but we decided that was the best choice. Said that doesn't mean that the other festival will necessarily disappear. We want to see, obviously, our ability to manage Canada Day first, to see the outcome of this first year, and after that we will probably decide. In our mindset is already the idea of keeping both. In terms of the merging, for this year what we decided is to bring some of the components of the festival that we typically run into Canada Day, keeping the best from our perspective of what they have done. So it's something that will entice the whole population to come and visit and see. The other part of it is we won't do one-day event. That was kind of forced to them because of the situation they were going into. We are thinking actually, just to make it work, probably go between 3 and 4 days. So we will, it's a little aggressive, but we have already a strategy in place to do that. And so what's going to happen is we will partner with some other organizations to do events previous to the event on Canada Day. We are actually getting support, full support from the Langley Event Center as well, to probably run like an event that will be managed by them on the day prior to Canada Day, and then we will have their premises available to us, actually covering the possibility even for rain or whatever it is. So we're trying to see all aspects of it. Again, the 3 or 4 days is still on the fine. Don't take this as a given. We are still exploring what's going to happen. And just addressing what Councilor Hall said about the money, yes, we are looking for grants. Obviously, that's important, but we are also relying on bringing the community forward and look for sponsorships and some other ways to get money so we can actually run a good event. We acknowledge that it's not only one way. It's not only one source. It has to be like a collaborative effort.
Wow, the more you say, the more surprised I am. I think it's admirable, and I think I applaud your decision to at least have it more than a one-day event, and as Shar well knows with her grant experience, 2-day festivals get a higher priority with grant funding from organizations, different levels of government than one-day events do. But in addition, if you can incorporate that international and multicultural component, then it puts you again in a higher queue than the other things. So I'm sure with the expertise you have available to you that this will work out great, and I really look forward to the event itself. I really applaud you guys. That's a big deal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions at all? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship.
The next item we have is under the Mayor's report. Our upcoming meetings, our regular council meeting is on January 27, 2014, and a regular council meeting February 3rd, 2014, and this one is televised. And under Metro Vancouver, Councillor Martin, do you have anything? Nothing there? Councillor James, under library happenings.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This is the library events happening between January 13th and January 26th in our very fun and always something happening library downstairs. Close Knit Langley, which is every Tuesday of the month from 3:30 to 5:30, pardon me. And this again invites all knitters to join all ages and abilities in the library for a warm and welcoming knitting circle. This is a drop-in event. Book club's ongoing as well. Tuesday, January 21st is the next one from 2 to 3 p.m. And again, every third Tuesday of the month, book club members are invited to meet and discuss a title, and new members are always welcome. And this is something new. It's called Frugal Can Be Fun, and this is on Saturday, January 25th from 2 to 3. And here's some questions they pose. If you want to go out for dinner but find it's not in the budget, or if you're looking for entertainment ideas that don't break the bank, or do you want to learn tips that will help you save money on your grocery bill, then this workshop is for you, because it's all about helping you and your family save money while being able to have fun. So this is a drop-in event as well. So for these activities and other things going on, please feel free to call 604-514-2850, and one of our amazing librarians will help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor James. Next item we have is recreation update from Kim Hilton, our Director of Recreation, Culture and Community Services. Kim.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of Council and the viewing audience. This is the update for January 2014. And as always, we start with special events. This weekend coming up, we do have our annual, and this is the 17th annual, Kids Swap and Sell. We don't actually swap and sell the kids, just their toys and clothes. It runs from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Douglas Recreation Center. You'll find gently used toys and clothing, accessories. There's usually some really great deals. So drop down to Douglas Recreation Center at 20550 Douglas Crescent and stroll around and have a look at all the various articles that are for sale. So that's on Saturday. Yep, coming up at the beginning of February is Responsible Gambling Awareness Week. Keep gambling safe and fun. Just wanted to point out there'll be a variety of booths set up throughout the community, both city and township wide. But I wanted to draw particular attention to a free swim that is sponsored by the BCLC, and that is on February the 8th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Walnut Grove Community Pool. For more information, you can check out Facebook, Responsible Gambling Week, or bclc.com, Responsible Gambling Week, for details on the events of that week. And Family Day is February the 10th, and to recognize this great event or great holiday, we encourage families to come out to Tim's Community Center to celebrate a day of family fun. There'll be lots of different games and activities taking place at the community center, and all activities are free to participate in. For more information, you can call 604-514-2940 or check out the city website at city.langley.bc.ca. And because it's a stat holiday, our facility is open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Lots of entertainment there. Also coming up is Valentine's Day, and we have a Sweet and Treats Valentine's event for preschoolers Friday, February the 14th during our regular parent and taught time. It's $3.50 for one child, or if you have 2 to 4 children, it's $5. So to register, you can phone 514-2865. It's filled with crafts and activities, even some chocolate. The kids have a great time, and parents do as well. So that's Sweet and Treats Valentine's event at Douglas Recreation Center. February is a busy month. We also have our Lantern Festival. This is our 3rd annual Lantern Festival, and it's in conjunction with many community partners, including the Langley Arts Council. It is being held on February the 22nd from 7 to 9 p.m. at Douglas Recreation Center. If you check out our website at city.langley.bc.ca, you'll also find some opportunities to learn how to make the lanterns. So that's February 22nd at Douglas Recreation Center. For more information, you can phone 604-514-2940. Now on to programs. The City of Langley has the Winter Recreation Guide out on the shelf. This guide is packed with activities for you and your family, all sorts of activities. From birth until a super senior. So you can pick up your rec guide at any of our facilities, or you can find it online as well. It's that time of year again where people are considering what to do with their 3, 4, 5-year-olds for preschool for the 2014 school year. We have an open house on Thursday, January the 23rd at Douglas Recreation Center from 5 to 7 p.m. This is your opportunity to check out our program. We have classes for 3-year-olds as well as 4-year-olds, and you can meet our instructor and find out what the kids do in this great preschool program, the Cookie Monster Preschool. So that's the City of Langley's Cookie Monster Preschool at Douglas Recreation Center on Thursday, January the 23rd. It's a new year, and with new year comes many resolutions, and Tim's Community Center with the City of Langley has your great variety of opportunities for you to become fit, from group fitness to individual to drop-in. We have Zumba, Pilates, women with weights, weight room drop-in. So please drop by Tim's Community Center. For more information or to find out when some of the programs run, you can either check their website or phone 604-514-2940. And youth have the opportunity for late night skate at Twin Rinks. It runs Fridays from 9:45 to 11:45 p.m. from January the 10th through to March 28th. It's $2 to drop in, and there are skate rentals available for $4. And we have leaders there to participate in the fun and guide the youth as they skate around and play hockey or whatever at the Twin Rinks. So that's Friday nights, 9:45 to 11:45. And we have a series of nutrition workshops coming up. The first one is Nutrition for a Healthy Weight Loss, and that's on Wednesday, January 22nd through to February the 12th from 6:30 to 8 p.m., and that's at Tim's Community Center. For more information, you can phone 604-514-2940. And that concludes my presentation for this evening.
Questions? Councillor James and Councillor Arnold.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to ask him, what do you think the age range is for that kid swap and sell? Like, would you put it at newborn to 6 as far as the product is concerned, or?
Definitely the bulk of the stuff is for younger children, so definitely newborn to 6 or 7. Okay. But I know I have been there on occasion with some stuff from home, so as your kids get older, you do get a few things, but nothing, I think, beyond 11.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Councillor Arnold.
Thank you. The two-step lessons, they're on once a week for how long?
I don't have the program and guide in front of me. Typically they run 6 to 8 weeks, but you can find out online, or you can give me a call tomorrow morning and I can let you know.
Okay, and are they free, or is there a charge, or how?
There's a charge, yes.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Further questions of Ms. Hilton? Seeing none? Thank you very much, Tim. Under the Mayor's report, I was asked a couple of questions earlier by Councillor Hall. I asked Councillor Hall to ask Mr. Chung those questions.
Yeah, that'll be real quick. With regard to the school site acquisition mediation, the school board sent a letter suggesting that they were proceeding and we were to have our staff involved. Has that progressed at all?
Your Worship to Councillor Hall, no, we haven't received any information or heard anything from either the school district or the ministry related to our position and also potentially the mediation process. But staff will follow up with the school district.
Okay, thank you. With regards to the flooding that's happened, there's a fair amount of silt deposit and whatnot on trails in the floodplain, and I was wondering whether we have a dedicated budget for the cleanup following. I realize snow removal is, we're well ahead because we've not had to expend that, but is there a dedicated operations budget for the cleanup of silt deposit?
Your Worship, the Council, we don't have a dedicated budget, but certainly we have the budget to maintain our trails, and we'll certainly have staff to do a walkthrough of all the trails and see what cleanup needs to be take place.
Thank you. We received an email regarding the webcast delivery. I just wanted some clarification on the archiving of old materials. We passed a motion last meeting suggesting that we were going to deliver funds to allow a changeover of provider and whatnot. The archiving, I was just wondering, so all of the old meetings, they'll still exist in some manner, or will they disappear for a period of time and then reappear? I'm just wondering if someone wanted to look at old meetings, will they still be able to do that, like the 2013 financial plan?
Yes, they are still being hosted. We're not sure for how long at this point by our old provider. We will provide a link to that on our website while it's available. And we are just waiting for that provider to put them in a format that can be transferred to our new provider, and then they will be available on our existing site with the new provider.
So they'll always exist ongoing. So we're eventually just going to add the new provider's product and carry on. Is
that they'll be added to our new provider's site, so they will all be available on one site.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, I'm just wondering about receipt in public of the former mayor's official letter of resignation. This is a unique circumstance, but if the leave of absence has ended, the suggestion was that there was going to be a formal letter of resignation, and I'm wondering if that's not expected to be received in a public realm so that at least it's a matter of ongoing record. So I guess the first question is, have we received that letter of resignation? And secondly, what's the view on public receipt of that? I would have thought it would have occurred at this meeting, but I'll just ask for clarification.
I believe the resignation was announced at the time that the transition took place when it did. But I believe it was last July, but we do have a formal letter. I can provide it to council if that is what council's desire. But I believe it was made public that the mayor had provided the letter of resignation effective January 2nd, 2014.
Just supplementary, just to clarify a little bit. I believe at the time the former mayor suggested that he would be providing a letter of resignation as of a certain date, and the receipt of that was timed for January. So I guess I'm asking the mayor for some sense of direction with this. I think that it should be publicly received and be a matter of public record. Does that take a formal motion, or what would we do?
I will just do a follow-up with the clerk and our CAO, and I will report back at our next council meeting.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Under the mayor's report, crime has no municipal boundaries. Councillor Arnold, Councillor Wallace, Councillor Martin, Councillor James, and Councillor Hall and myself all believe in this community. Last week I met with the RCMP, that was Superintendent Derek Cook. We discussed city core issues and a strategy to target some of the problems in the downtown core and in the city in general. The City Hall building, Douglas Park, already have security cameras, and very shortly cameras will be up and running in McBurney Plaza. The Langley RCMP is proactive in dealing with groups or enthusiasts who would like to hang out in the city. The city of Langley has 50 police officers, one for just over 500 residents, one of, if not the largest, officer-to-resident ratio in the Metro Vancouver area. The city also shares the Integrated Homicide Team, the IHIT, the Emergency Response Team, ERT, the Traffic Reconstruction Team, Forensics, and the Dog Patrol. The total budget for our RCMP is over $10 million. Tomorrow, Mr. Chung and myself will be meeting with the Langley Chamber of Commerce, their representative, to see what kind of a role they could provide to the community. And the reason I bring this up is that there have been issues in surrounding boundaries. So this council and this city and the staff are very proactive. In closing, I have approved to expend some overtime dollars for a strategic enhanced police presence in the area if required. So this council and this city is looking after this community. So I'd just like to bring that under the mayor's report and to help clarify anything that may have been going on in surrounding communities. We like to think of ourselves as being very proactive. So now under bylaws. The first bylaw is 2916, the City of Langley Business License and Regulation Bylaw. I need a motion for the final reading of the bylaw cited as this bylaw 2013 number 2916. Moved by Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor James. All those in favor? Bylaw 2923, Fees and Charges. Final reading of the bylaw cited as Fees and Charges, number 2010. Number 2837, Amendment 12, Bylaw 2013, number 2923, regarding Business License Bylaw. And I need a mover, seconder. Councillor James, Councillor Martin, all those in favor? Waterworks, Bylaw 2924, final reading of the bylaw cited as Waterworks Regulation 2004, number 2550, Amendment number 14, Bylaw 2013, number 2924. I need a mover. Councillor Martin, Councillor Wallace, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Bylaw 2925, Sanitary Sewer, Storm Sewer Rates Regulation Bylaw, final reading of the bylaw. Storm Sewer, Sanitary Sewer Regulation 2003, 2494, Amendment number 10, Bylaw 2013, number 2925. Mover by Councillor Wallace, seconded by Councillor Hall. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Bylaw 2927, Council Procedure Bylaw. First, second, and third reading of the bylaw cited as Council Procedure Bylaw 2013, Amendment number 1, Bylaw 2014, number 2927. It's moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor James. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Bylaw number 2928, first, second, and third reading of the bylaw cited as the Inter-municipal Business License Bylaw 2012, Amendment number 2, Bylaw 2014, number 2928. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Martin, Councillor Wallace. Discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. The next item I have is under Administrative Reports, the City of Langley Community Survey Results. And with that, I have our goal at the City of Langley is to meet and exceed the expectations of our community. One of the ways we achieve this goal is through communication, specifically to uphold an atmosphere of open, transparent, and effective communication as outlined in the City Council strategic directions. As such, the City of Langley regularly conducts community surveys that provide comprehensive assessments of citizens' priority satisfaction with municipal services and attitudes towards topical issues facing our community. To this end, Ipsos Reid was commissioned to conduct the City 2013 Community Survey, and Kyle Braid of Ipsos Reid is here. And, I invite you to the mic.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Council. I'm not going to take up too much of your time this evening. I'm going to walk you through some of the results. I believe you're in receipt of this presentation as well as probably the report, so there's plenty to read there. And I'll try to go through some of the highlights fairly quickly this evening and answer any questions that you have on the 2013 survey. Just as a bit of background, this was a survey of 600 residents of the city of Langley, and at the start of the survey we do ask people whether they actually live in the city of Langley to try to get that confirmation at the start of the survey. Survey was done 3 months ago in October. 3 months ago in October. Margin of error is plus or minus 4%, 19 times out of 20. We take the sample that we get and we make sure that it's reflective of your community in terms of where people live. So we set quotas for different neighborhoods to try to make it reflective of your community. And we also set quotas for age and gender and those kinds of things and make sure that the final sample looks like your community. As I go through this, some of the results you can see in the report, I won't mention all of them today, are tracked to previous surveys. We've done this survey every 3 years back to, I know, at least back to 2007, but possibly 2004. And this is not the only survey we do on this topic across BC. We've done probably 100 community surveys like this in BC in the last, I'd say, 7 or 8 years. And so we can also track some of the questions we ask here to norms we have for BC municipalities. So let's jump into it. Start off with just some of the high-level findings as I see it as we went through it. City of Langley, I would say, continues to get strong marks on most of the aspects that we look at in the survey. You're going to see as I go through this pretty strong marks for quality of life, delivery of city services, perceptions of the value that taxpayers think they get for what they're spending in terms of tax dollars, and most citizens think that they're getting opportunities to speak or be heard on decisions that impact their neighborhood. In terms of public priorities, 3 of them come out quite a bit in the survey. You'll see them in a number of different places. Transportation at the top of the list, and then you'll see social issues, primarily poverty and homelessness, second, and then crime does come up quite a bit in the survey as well. We look at a variety of different satisfaction numbers for city services. I said the overall score is pretty good. 2 areas that are a little bit lower and actually have declined a little bit in this year's survey are for emergency preparedness and quality of city streets, road conditions. And you'll see that come up a couple of times. And then finally, the theme of crime does appear several times in the survey if you read through the report. And in fact, those citizens who have a perception that the quality of life is declining in the city of Langley are more likely to mention crime as an issue than anything else. And there are also some shifts this time around in terms of perceptions of how safe downtown Langley is a place to be at night. No shift in terms of perceived safety of downtown Langley during the daytime, but some of the numbers have shifted in terms of perceptions of safety at night. So let's dig through these results. In terms of quality of life, people choose to live where they live for a reason, and so generally when we ask the question about what do you think of the quality of life in the community that you live in, we get high marks, no difference here. 95% of your citizens rating the quality of life in the city of Langley as either very good or good, pretty consistent with where it's been in the past and well in line with municipal norms. We asked a question this time, it's not shown here, you can see it in the report, about whether your perception is that the quality of life is improving or worsening in the city of Langley. The biggest numbers say that the quality of life has stayed the same over the last few years, but there are some, about equal numbers, who say the quality of life has either improved or worsened. Just in terms of what people told us as a follow-up to that, this is an open-ended question that gets coded into different categories. When we ask those who have a perception that things are improving, why do you say that? They mention things related to, I see the community growing, I like the way development is happening, I see more services. I think the services are improving that the city's delivering, and some comments about public safety. On the other hand, among those citizens who say that they have a perception that the quality of life has worsened in Langley over the last few years, one item does stick out above the others, and that's a perception, at least among these residents, that there's an increase in crime or drug activity. But just to put these numbers in perspectives, that's not 37% of the public saying that. That's 37% of those who said that the quality of life has worsened. So that's actually somewhere around only 8 to 10% of the overall population. So just to put that in some perspective. In terms of the issue agenda, what's the priorities that the citizens want to see the city of Langley and leaders of the city dealing with? 3 items leap to the top, and they're the same items that have been at the top in most of the surveys that we've done. And these are not unique issues to the city of Langley. We see these in other communities across Metro Vancouver as well. Top issue continues to be transportation, with a quarter of citizens mentioning that as their top priority issue, followed by social issues and crime. Transportation, if you look through what's buried in that 27%, the top issue is condition of streets, so the condition of the roads that people see. Also in there are several comments about traffic congestion and various issues related to the transit services that are available in the city. Social issues, as I mentioned earlier, is primarily made up of issues related to poverty and homelessness, but there's also mentions of drugs and of housing issues. And finally, crime doesn't really have anything that leaps up to the top. Most of these are just general mentions about perceptions of crime activity in the community in which they live. So there's nothing really specific related to crime. Generally, these three issues have been 1, 2, and 3 in the last 3 surveys that we've done. Transportation's actually come up a little bit from 2010, but it's no higher than it was in 2007. Social issues have come down a little bit from, actually quite a bit from where it was in 2010, and even crime has come down a little bit since 2010. Perceptions of city services. Just start off with more perceptions of the city of Langley itself and the job it's doing. Most of your citizens, 8 out of 10 or 3/4, think that the city is accountable for leadership and good governance. Most of your citizens, 3/4, think that the city of Langley believes in and practices open and accessible government. I will note that while those numbers are significant majorities, they are down a little bit from where we have seen in the past. 2004, 2007, the leadership and good governance numbers are down a little bit, almost 11 points from 2007, and even the numbers around open and accessible government are down a little bit from where they were in, let's say, 2007. So still high numbers, but there has been a drop in those over the last couple of surveys that we've done. Nevertheless, 9 out of 10 citizens, more than 9 out of 10 citizens, when they think about services that the city supplies, say that they are satisfied with the overall level and quality of the city's service delivery, right in line with the norms that we see for other communities in BC, and generally pretty much in line with where those numbers have been historically in the surveys that we've done. In terms of specific services, really strong marks across the board. Majority levels of satisfied for everything. Very high scores for fire protection, public works, and police services. The lower scores you'll see, some of the lower ones are for emergency preparedness and road conditions. Still a majority level, still a significant majority level of satisfaction, but down at the 7 out of 10 level rather than the 9 out of 10 level. And if we compare where these results have been in the past, if you look at the last two, both emergency preparedness and road conditions are down 5 or 6 points from where they were in 2010. And whoever was here speaking in 2010, I don't think it was me, probably my colleague Catherine Knaus, would have said the same thing at that time, that they were down 7 points each in 2010. So there's been a pretty sharp drop in those two items since 2 surveys ago. Everything else is pretty consistent. Nevertheless, citizens think that they're getting good value for the tax dollars that they pay. 84% saying, generally a checking the box that says, do you think you're getting good value? Maybe not very good value, but generally people don't like to say that they get very good value for things like taxes. They grudgingly give a fairly good value mark, but that's better than the norm that we have, and it's consistent. Actually, it's the highest mark we've seen since 2004 for the city of Langley on that measure. This is a question I've never loved, but it's one that we adopted from the city of Calgary years ago, and essentially asked people to think about taxes and services, and starts with a premise that every year the costs rise for delivering services. So if you want to maintain services at a specific level, it might in fact mean that you need to increase taxes to do that. Things haven't shifted too much this time from previous surveys. About half of your residents say, I'm willing to accept some increased taxes to either enhance or to maintain services. About 3 in 10 citizens say, no, I would rather see services cut to maintain the existing tax level, or in fact, I'd want to see services cut and reduce my taxes. There's another 21% who either say, I don't like any of those options and I'd like to insert one of my own, or 7% say that they don't know. Generally, those numbers are pretty much in line with where they've been historically. In terms of perceptions of safety and security, overall, most citizens, almost 3 in 4, 72% agree that the City of Langley is a place where they feel, or residents feel, safe and secure. 27% disagree. This is a question where the gender gap begins to show, with men quite a bit higher than women in terms of perceptions of safety in the community, and a perception that it's a place where residents should feel safe and secure. When it comes specifically to downtown Langley, we ask a question about, do you feel safe in the daytime or at evening? If you add up very safe and somewhat safe, you get almost everybody in the community that we interviewed saying they feel safe during the daytime, 98%. In the evening, that number is 54%, so almost 4 in 10 residents say they wouldn't feel safe in downtown Langley in the evening. And the perception that it's safe in the evening has dropped 11 points from where it was in 2010. So perceptions of safety downtown at night have worsened slightly since the last time that we talked to your residents. Why do people visit downtown? Last time it was shopping, this time it's shopping. Last time the number 2 was dining, same this time. Not much has changed in terms of why people are visiting downtown. This is a new question, I believe. Do you find it difficult to find parking in downtown Langley? 40% say yes, half say no, so split on that. So about 2 out of 5 say that they do find parking downtown difficult. Are there things you would like to see more in Langley in terms of family and other events in Langley? Similar to what we saw last time, the top of the list, about half of people say, I'd like to see more free family events. Musical events is strong number 2. And then we've got arts and cultural events and festivals. I think they flipped from where they were last time, but really it's a similar feedback that we got last time in terms of what kinds of events people want to see in Langley. In terms of communication and opportunities to be heard, 7 in 10 of your citizens say that they are satisfied with their opportunities to be heard. This is not a question we have norms on, but I know we've asked this question in a variety of other municipalities in slightly different language, and I would say this is pretty consistent with what we've seen in other communities. The 7 in 10 is not great. It's certainly not a poor number, and it's fairly consistent with where it's been in the past, although it has been as high as 79% in 2004. But most citizens say they're satisfied with their opportunities to be heard. Thinking about your information needs, and this is just a general open-ended question, what kinds of information do you want the City of Langley to provide you with? It's always interesting that, and it's not surprising, I guess, that almost half of citizens down at those bottom 2 categories either said, I don't want any information from the City of Langley, or I can't think of anything that I want from the City of Langley. So nearly half of citizens right off the bat said, no, there's nothing I can think of that I want from the City of Langley. Things that people do want to hear about, it's a real mix. Budget, taxes, changes that are going to impact me, community planning, which is also things that are going to impact me, upcoming community events. So those who do want it want a variety of different types of information. There's not one thing people are looking for. It's a wide range of things. How do you want to be communicated with? Still at the top of the list are the more traditional methods, direct mail and newspapers. However, compared to 2010, direct mail has gone from 50% down to 41%. And that's been taken up by email, which has gone from 18 to 23. The website's gone from 9 to 12, and I'm sure there's a variety of other electronic methods there that have gone up as well. So there has been a bit of a shift towards more electronic means away from some of the traditional means. Doesn't mean you can abandon the traditional means, because you can see they're still number 1 and 2 on the list, but they are coming down. We asked some questions about customer service and interaction with the city. Half of citizens told us that they have either been to the city's website or interacted with the city via social media in the past 12 months. That strangely is down from 60% in 2010, and I fear adding in the term social media this time, which was not in there last time, may have had people answering this question thinking about social media and not all the different ways in which they can interact with the city, and may have taken that number down. Nevertheless, those who do access the website or contact the city through social media generally find the information and content that's available to be useful, 88% of them, consistent with where it's been in the past. On the library, just over a third of residents say they visit the library once a month or more. It's down 4 points from where it was in 2010. That maybe is just on the cusp of being statistically significant, but I'd call it 4 to 10. I would have called it 4 to 10 last time, so not really much of a drop. Why do people visit the library? Well, to read or borrow books, borrow music or movies, work, study, read, borrow magazines or newspapers. Exactly the same top 4, and almost in pretty much the same numbers that we saw in the 2010 survey. Why don't some people use the library? Well, I got the internet at home. I just have no need for it. I'm too busy. I don't have time. So it's not really saying anything that's negative about the library itself. People are just excluding themselves from the audience for the library. They're not saying there's something wrong with the library. It's just not something that is for me. And that, very quickly, and I did move very quickly, is a summary of a survey that we spent a month fielding, and a great deal of work with Gerald getting it to this point. So thank you, Gerald, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or thoughts that you have.
Mr. Mincha?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to conclude that the entire community survey report is posted on our city website at city.langley.bc.c for the viewing public. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hall.
Question on the parking component. It's always kind of a mystery. Do you take anecdotal comments at the time? So it's my impression that there's no real difficulty in finding parking if you're willing to walk a block. But obviously there's 50% of those people say that there's difficulty in finding parking. Do they suggest why?
No, this was a new question, and it was as straightforward as it looks, and 4 out of 10 said they had trouble, and I don't know what that trouble specifically refers to. But I will note that, in the top issue agenda, parking by itself was not one of the key items.
Okay, I think we added that question just to, I guess, send us on a bit of a mission to find out perhaps why. It might be something that staff pursues and asks whether it's the angled parking or whether it's the distance from the shops that they want or the time frame. We moved from 3-hour to 2-hour limits, and maybe we could get some feedback on that from our public. So I think that's a useful question. Back about 6 months ago, we adopted a regional context statement, and we were looking at our official community plan, and I raised the question at that time, what are we really doing to engage our public in that process? And the answer that I received at that time, one from staff, was that, we'll be engaging in a survey once again, and that should illustrate to us a number of different things. And then the mayor, in his closing remarks, I think it was the day of his passing, I'll call it, his moving along, suggested that it was every citizen's right and opportunity to choose not to be engaged. So I'm wondering, in terms of improving the engagement of the public, is there anything that comes out of this survey that suggests how the city might engage the public in a more productive manner? The social media question that you've used as an illustration is a little bit confounding, but was there anything else that came out of this?
No, and I'd be at the point of speculating here. trying to read something from the tea leaves here that may not be there. We have asked questions in the past, or done surveys that are specifically about the topic of citizen engagement and the kinds of things that the city could do to engage citizens, including town halls and websites and all those kinds of things. We didn't ask them, so the only clue in there is if you want to engage citizens, it's going to be on the issues that matter to them, and they've told us that those are transportation, those social issues, and crime. So you've got the hot buttons to talk about, but the survey doesn't point to how to have that discussion.
Okay, and the last one is on this whole safety concern issue. The last 2 times that we've done surveys, the public's generally said that they have concerns about safety declining over the previous 5 years. Little's changed.
I have never done a survey where the public has not said that crime is increasing. So it doesn't necessarily jive with what's happening in the real numbers.
Okay, but I mean, earlier we had the mayor issuing a statement about how we take crime and safety seriously, and we've delivered extra funds towards that. Is there a kind of a question that we can ask in the future? I'm looking to the next time that we perhaps do this survey, because if we're just replicating things all the time, we're not actually making any productive change. Is there a way to drill into that perception? Would the public like to see the delivery of and perhaps provide some alternatives in terms? As the mayor said, there's lots of communities that are engaging in this process, and what's coming out of the Newton Community Hall meeting was that they want foot patrols, they want a stronger individual presence, they want the police out of their cars. So that's obviously one option. Since we originally did the surveys, we've instituted this regional policing, the gang squad, the murder, the eye hit, and everything else. So there have been some changes. Are there any anecdotal comments or anything in the survey that would help us move towards some positive change?
Not much, because the survey wasn't honestly designed to do that. You'd have to test specific initiatives in the next survey to get to that and get to the palatability of them. But again, as I've pointed out, crime is a theme that comes throughout this survey. I would still point out that when we asked the question about police services, I believe the number was 9 out of 10 satisfied with the job that the police are doing. So as much as people are concerned about crime, it doesn't necessarily mean they think that the city is underperforming in that area. Perhaps there's just more that needs to be done by everyone.
Thank you. I was thinking along the same lines. If we do the survey again down the road, could we do less questions but drill into a previous question to ask a little bit, or to get a little bit more detail?
Absolutely. Yes.
So instead of having whatever it is, 30 or 40, you could have 25 and then have a sub-question to the previous, to that question.
Yes.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, I need a motion to receive this information. Councillor Hall, Councillor Arnold, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you again.
Thank you.
The next item we have is the 2013 annual report from committees. And the motion is that the annual report for Community Day Committee, the Community Day Parade Committee, the Magic of Christmas Parade Committee, and the Youth Committee be received. I need a mover. Councillor James, Councillor Arnold. Are there any questions or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Under new and unfinished business, we have a motion for the joint School District 35 Municipal Liaison Committee, and that this one was missed at the last meeting, and that Council appoint Acting Mayor Ted Schaefer and Councillor Terry James to the joint School District 35 Municipal Liaison Committee. I need a mover. Yeah. Councillor James, Councillor Arnold. Councillor Hall, question?
At one time, we had all of council meeting with the school district. Has this liaison committee replaced that function, or?
This has been going on for quite a while. I don't know my previous 2-year stint. I'd have to ask the CAO.
Your Worship, to Councillor Hall, this liaison committee was established in 2013. It's only 1 year old, and it doesn't preclude council having a meeting with the entire school district as trustees to discuss other issues.
So, I guess what I'm looking for, like this particular committee's not reported back to council. I've not received minutes, and I guess I'm just feeling I'm a little bit out of the loop. There's a number of committees that people go off on, and I'm sure that they're very productive discussions and whatnot, but the information doesn't seem to come back to council. And certainly if we are going to set up a meeting with the entire school board at some time in the future, I'd like to be privy to some of the discussions that have already taken place. So as an example, the school site acquisition charge issue, had that come up through this liaison committee at all? No. So I guess I'm wondering, what is the nature of the discussions?
We haven't had a chance to meet in a while on this, and pertaining to meetings with the school district board, I'd like to have another council meeting, board and as well with the board, similar to what we did with the township council and this council. But getting back to your original question.
Your Worship, Councillor, some of the discussion points, items that we have discussed in the committee is a policy issue relating to maybe joint environmental initiative with school in the cities, some traffic issue related to Stafford Middle School and some other schools, and potential partnership opportunities between the school district and the city. So those are some of the discussions items that we have had in the past. We haven't had a meeting the last couple of months, and we'll try to schedule another meeting in the upcoming few months.
Okay, I'll just leave it at that. Just a request to have some information that come out of those meetings, and a general meeting with the board itself. We did have one in this mandate. It may not have been last year, but certainly it was just before the appointment of the new superintendent. I'm not sure that we've had a meeting since.
You can check into it, and we'll have staff arrange one. Councillor Martin, and then Councillor Wall. Oh.
I have on my calendar a school district council liaison meeting for February the 27th. Is that what we're talking about?
The one that...
It was changed from January, I
yes.
think. So we're meeting with the school board on February...
No, just the liaison committee, and that's Councillor James and myself.
Just the liaison committee's meeting?
Right.
Okay, okay. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions at all? So all those in favor of the motion? It's unanimous. The next one we have here is that the inaugural meeting time, and that this is from Councillor Hall. And it be resolved that the inaugural meeting of the City of Langley be held on the first Monday of December 2014 and commence at 7 p.m. You need a motion to put it on the table, and a seconder? Councillor Hall to move it. Second with Councillor Martin. Discussion. Councillor Hall.
I'll just speak briefly to it. For years, the City of Langley has held their inaugural meeting at 2 p.m. the first day of the first Monday of December. For new people elected, I think it's a particularly important event, and having it in the afternoon precludes new people in particular from perhaps having their family here, friends, relatives. I think it's a significant event, and an evening time allows people that are working to be here. We requested of the township that they perhaps alternate with us, and they respectfully declined and suggested that we were no more important than Surrey or Abbotsford in the discussion, and that they would do their thing and it would be up to us to do ours. I believe that it's time that, at least for this next inauguration, that we make that change. Staff have suggested that there are challenges, trying to get a judge to oversee, having our local politicians attend. Perhaps they're conflicted on as to which event to go to. But the argument that this is always the way we've done it suggests to me that I think it's about time that we change some practices, and I think that the city's important enough that we hold our own event at this particular time. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councillor Martin?
Well, I will echo some of the accounts, some of the things that Councillor Hall said. You know, I understand that you know, we do share MLAs, we share MPs and what have you. And I'm really disappointed in the response that we got from the township. I do know, in talking to some of the township councillors, that there were a couple on there that thought, why not give it a try and go back and forth every other year. And I really believe that had the shoe been on the other foot and they sent us a letter, that we would look at perhaps changing every other year. And I also agree that you know, maybe some people, I think it's important that family be at this event, even more so than some other people that we may or may not have attend. But you know, having it in the afternoon, family members work, and I think it would be nice for a change to have family members at the inaugural meeting. And I don't see a problem in changing it. And as far as a judge goes, I mean, there's got to be more than one judge in the Langley area that we can look at. And I guess, you know, as far as the federal and the provincial reps, well, I mean, let's get our invitation out earlier. Maybe they'll RSVP to us and won't be able to go. There's many times in Langley City and the township that there's conflicting events, and you have to make up your mind as to where you're going to go. So again, I am very disappointed in the township that they couldn't see sort of past their nose to perhaps do this every other year. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Councillor Arnold.
Yeah, I know when we first talked about the idea of switching it back and forth every election and so on, it seemed like a good idea. We asked them if they were interested in doing it. Apparently they're not, and that's fine. But I think at the same time, I really don't see where we've had a problem having it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I've had people that have come for my inauguration, and they always manage to get 1 day off every 3 years or so. So you know, I don't think that we had any problems until we asked them and they said no, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. And I think we should just carry on with the way we've been doing it.
Further discussion? Councillor James?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is one of those issues for me where it really bugs me that the township didn't consider switching out, which would mean once every 6 years, they would have it at 7 o'clock, and once every 6 or 3 years, they would have it at 2, and 3 years at 6, so, or whatever, 7, whatever time they chose. So for me, it's a personal disappointment, but insofar as trying to, you know, shuffle judges and invite family, I agree with Councillor Arnold. There's never been a problem for me personally for people attending my inaugural. I have children that work shift work, and unfortunately that means they work in the day and they work at night and they work whenever. So I don't see it creating that big of a problem, other than, like I say, it's a personal bug for me, and I am disappointed in them. But at the end of the day, I like going to the township inaugural, and I like it when certain members of township council come and support us when we're having our inaugural, simply because at the end of the day, we work together. We share services, and it's the way it is. So aside from being very disappointed that they wouldn't even give it consideration beyond one council meeting and a flat-out no, I too have talked to some of the members of council, and they were, you know, they wanted to consider it on that end, but they just lost the vote. And at the end of the day, when you lose the vote, you lose the vote, and you go with the flow. So I won't be supporting this, but not because I don't see the point. I just don't think we need to create the extra work for staff and shift things up as much as that. Thank you.
Councillor Hall.
Just respectively, I don't want this to be seen as a knee-jerk reaction. We actually had this debate the first year, actually the first meeting of this new term, and I proposed changing the time and whatnot. We had that debate, so there was fair warning. Now, at that time, that debate failed, but it's been brought back at this point. So I don't think it should be characterized as something just in reaction to what they have done. I think that the sentiment was expressed a while back. The prospect was expressed a while back. There's been opportunity for adjustment on both sides. So I think that there's a valid argument for this motion.
Further? Okay, all those in favor of this motion? Councillor Hall, Councillor Martin. All those against? Councillor Arnold, Wallace, Schaefer, and James. Lost. Next item we have is correspondence from Metro Vancouver. It's funding for Live Smart BC Small Business Program 2014-2015. The next item we have is from the City of New Westminster, support for Royal Columbian Hospital redevelopment. And the next item is the City of Langley Council, and I asked Mr. Chung and myself, we had a meeting, and I asked him to include a support letter here, and this motion is that council send the attached letter to Port Metro Vancouver in support of a call for a full health impact assessment on the proposed Fraser-Surrey Docks expansion. And moved by Councillor Arnold, seconded by Councillor Hall. Yes, go right ahead.
It's getting very confusing. Which health impact studies are being vetted? This one's specific to the Surrey Docks, yes? As opposed to the last one that we supported, which was an impact study specifically to the second phase of the Roberts Bank terminal project. Is that what I'm getting out of this?
Mr. Chung?
Your Worship, to Council Hall, yes, but that was also a component relating to the Fraser Dock expansion program as well.
So we have been approached by an organization, what is it, Coal, maybe you can help me, I forget the name of the organization, but anyway, To come as a delegation to council, they approached through the peak committee. I think that staff responded by suggesting that they had an opportunity to delegate, and I was expecting that delegation would be coming to this meeting.
In clarification, we met with them. The gentleman is in the audience.
Okay.
And what they were looking for was this letter here. So it saved them the time. What they were looking for was this letter. So the long and short of it is they were looking for this letter of support.
Okay, so we've delivered. We don't need any further information
That's
at
right.
this time, and we'll have some follow-up later. Yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
So all those, further discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. And to the gentleman in the viewing, in the peanut gallery here, we appreciate you coming. Thank you very much. And new business, I have one item, and it is a little bit of a clarification on the retirement of the mortgage at the Langley Senior Center, and I would ask Councillor Hall to make this. The new business was, be it resolved that Langley City Council directs staff to work with society representatives to develop a formal retirement of the mortgage ceremony for the Langley Seniors Resource Center, along with an appropriate press release. And this is just a follow-up to do with the motion that we did on the mortgage last time.
I'm moving that, and
Yes.
then I'll speak to it if I get a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, I thought this was a significant event that we had last meeting. We passed a motion delivering significant funds towards the retirement of this mortgage. Unfortunately, it wasn't picked up at all in the local press, and I think an event like that deserves a higher profile. So I'm simply asking, I'm not structuring this in any manner. I realize that Councillor James is our representative on a liaison with the resource center. Certainly they have a board of directors. All I expect perhaps is that we have some presentation of that in a timely manner so that we can collectively celebrate that. Thank you.
Right. All those in favor? That be resolved that Langley City Council directs staff to work with society representatives to develop a formal retirement of the mortgage ceremony for the Langley Seniors Resource Center, along with an appropriate press release. We're just working, we as the city want to work with the Seniors Resource Center and let the community know that we're going to retire their mortgage. Councilor Martin.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm not sure that we do stuff around this table to make sure that the press write about it. But anyway, and I guess one of the questions I had, I believe, at the last, when we were discussing this, was the future with the Seniors Resource Society. I mean, yeah, we can pay off their mortgage. I think it's a smart thing for us to do. But, you know, I would like some kind of information from them and, you know, what are they going to expect of us in the coming years? We've been paying $40,000 a year for, I think it's around 12 years, is it not, Mr. Light, to help them with their mortgage, which in turn helps them with their operating and everything else. So, and obviously once their mortgage is retired, that $40,000 is gone, plus anything that they've had to put in. So I would like, more important to me is how are we going to carry on this relationship with the senior center? You know, and if you guys want to have a party celebrating the burning of the mortgage, well, yeah, I'll vote in favor of it. But, you know, I mean, I think it's a really poor excuse to have a motion is because the press didn't pick up on it. I mean, are we acting as editors here now? So Anyway, I'm sure, Mr. Chung, you can bring that information to us and perhaps a working session to let us know how the future will be on with the Senior Center.
Councillor James.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually have a comment and then an inquiry, just a nice one. I think a little bit of this decision got lost in the shuffle of pre-Christmas, and I'm not saying that it's not important nor significant, this decision, but I know for myself there was a lot going on that council meeting, and like I say, not to think I don't think it's a significant event, but to be perfectly honest with you, it hasn't come to the forefront even for myself as the council representative on the Seniors Resource Center. So my question is to, I guess, Mr. Chung and or Mr. Light, I certainly haven't said anything to anyone at the Seniors Resource Center because I don't think it's my place. But are we planning on letting them know as well, and if so, when?
Your Worship, to Councillor James, as Council may recall, there are two components to paying off the mortgage. Council did in 2013 allocate about $75,000 or $79,000 from the enterprise fund towards paying off the mortgage. There's still remaining $40,000. That's going to be coming from the 2014 budget. And we have had discussion with the Executive Director of Langley Senior Resource Center to give her the heads up that this is the desire and the intention of City Council. We still need further discussion to address what Councillor Martin was asking in terms of the future relationship. Are there going to be future expectation from the Langley Senior Resource Center for additional funding opportunity of grants from the city? So those discussions needs to take place, and obviously directions from City Council to have that discussion with the Langley Senior Resource Center, and we will have those discussions in the upcoming weeks.
Excellent. So just to that point, Mr. Mayor, if I may, one more. So in actual fact, this isn't something that's done yet until the 2014 budget's approved.
The
so
final installment,
the
final installment won't be done until the 2014 budget is approved.
Great. Thank you.
Councillor Hall.
It was my impression that what we were attempting to do was deliver the 2014 funds in a timely manner, and every day or week or month that clicks by means that interest is still accruing on the remaining funds. So I thought what we had done last meeting was clearly directed those funds for this very worthy purpose. So it's not, I'm glad we've had this discussion of clarification, because it's not simply a matter of, I guess, schmoozing the press, but certainly lost in that discussion last week was clarity about what the intent of this was. And the intent was clearly to deliver those funds as quickly as possible in 2014, and I assume that that was outside the budget deliberations that are going to go until March, with accruing interest and cost to the city. The whole intent here was to deliver the funds right away. And I'm pretty sure that that's what the motion read. I was coached by staff to put in a particular motion that did not include the exact dollar sum. I withdrew that motion so as not to jeopardize that going through. A motion was moved and seconded by Councillor James and Councillor Martin to the effect that these funds would be delivered. So I would like to hear the motion read again, and I'd like some clarity about when that check is going to be signed and handed over, because every day that we wait, interest accrues.
Your Worship, to Council Hall, the meeting minutes from December 16, 2013 meeting, it was moved by Councillor James and seconded by Councillor Martin that Council approve expenditure of $74,000 from the 2013 Enterprise Fund for immediate payment of the Senior Resource Center mortgage, and the balance of the mortgage be paid from the 2014 budget. It was carried.
Unanimously.
Oh, okay, clarification. So, the money from the 2014 budget has been delivered. It's no discussion about where it lies in the order of priority with other things. That motion clearly says that the money's in the budget, it's 2014, and that should be delivered. In the 2014 budget, exactly.
Councillor.
Your Worship, the Council Hall, we have not passed the 2014 budget at this point, so the expenditure cannot be spent at this time.
Councillor Wallace.
So my understanding is that the 2013 enterprise fund has already gone. That's the only amount.
Correct. The $74,000 from the 2013 enterprise fund has been put forward to the mortgage.
I gotta continue. Right. The intent of the original motion, which I withdrew, was clearly to expend funds to eliminate that mortgage and save the city money. You're telling me now that that could change, even though a motion has been passed to expend that money, that could change through budget deliberations to March, and you could renege on not only that motion but the promise? That clearly was not explained by staff. It clearly was not, I would suggest it's not legitimate, because we had a motion that was crafted. I was asked to withdraw my original motion in the belief that that would be going forward, having passed that.
Councillor Martin.
The original motion was proposed on the advice of staff, and it simply had a blank. If you would read my original motion.
If Your Worship wants me to read it, we do have the original motion from Councillor Hall. Okay. So the original motion from Councillor Hall was moved by Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor James. Be resolved that Langley City Council identify funds from the 2013 Enterprise Fund to reduce and approach elimination of the Senior Resource Center mortgage. Councillor Hall withdrew the motion.
Okay. Well, we'll call the question on this motion now that's on the floor. No, it wasn't. Okay, all those in favor? Yeah. Against? So, Councillor Hall, and Acting Mayor Schaefer. Against were Councillor Arnold, Wallace, Martin. Yes. Yeah, I read it out twice already now. Be it resolved that Langley City Council directs staff to work with society representatives to develop a formal retirement of the mortgage ceremony for the Langley Seniors Resource Center, along with an appropriate press release. Now, there is no date on this. It just says to be it resolved. So it was moved by Councillor Hall, seconded by Acting Mayor Schaefer. So those in favor of this? Against? Everybody, it's unanimous decision on this motion. So, now the last item.
Can I just ask a question, please?
On. Yes.
So, Mr. Chung, will you need a formal motion in regards to bringing the information back that I was inquiring about earlier,